Hi there, it's Moriam again. I woke up this morning and I had this strange feeling in my head, and I knew I wanted to make another video. And what I generally do is, if I want to make a video, if I want to, if I'm looking for certain answers, I actually go into a kind of meditative state. Not quite as heavy meditation as I would normally do, but it's a different kind, it's a light kind of meditation. And through that meditation, I get a lot of ideas. Just by asking myself certain questions, I let the answers come to me. And it works really well. Anyway, this morning I had the same kind of thing. I wanted to make a video about something which would bring you value and give you some kind of information. And so I thought for a very little while in that kind of very short meditative state, and then something came up, and the message was basically to say that with the law of attraction, we need to trust our own intuition, we need to trust ourselves more in terms of making decisions, and we need to stop looking outside of ourselves for confirmation of the choices that we make in life. What we all tend to do is, if there has been somebody in our environment or somebody that we maybe don't know so well but have looked at or have observed, we tend to think, well, if I ask that person or if I do as that person is doing, then I'll achieve the same kind of success. And in some ways it's very good to replicate successful behavior or happy behavior, because then we learn ourselves how to do and achieve the same thing. And the other side, what's not good about it, is that we can have the tendency to put too much weight into the opinion of others, and especially when it comes to the opinion they have of how we should do our things, or how we should live our lives, or which choices that we should make. And this is a very, very important aspect which we must learn to do differently. Now, firstly, we need to learn to trust our own decision, because we are actually never wrong. And there have been so many occasions, and I know that you've experienced this as well, whereby you've had the feeling that you should go one way and you've actually ended up going the other way, only to realise later on that your actual first inkling or feeling was right. That is really learning to tap into our intuition. Our intuition is like a kind of GPS that tells us where to go and how to do certain things. It doesn't scare us, it's not the same as fear, it doesn't warn us, it just gives us a gentle push in the direction, and we can choose, because we have free will, whether we listen to that or not. But when it comes to making decisions, that inner voice that is telling us to do certain things or pushing us forward in certain directions is a really important voice to listen to, and it's much more important than any external voice. Now, even if you have somebody who has a lot of experience in doing whatever they've done, and you want to replicate their behavior or their success, you have to remember this. Their success is based on a few unique factors. One, they are unique as a person, so they are unique in their experiences. Two, they're not going to necessarily be in the same situation or in the same circumstance as you are. Number three is also their conditioning, the way they've been brought up, the way they live culturally, societally, whatever you can think of, will also affect them. And that will have led them and pushed them to the direction that they've landed in. Now, that doesn't mean that because their nature and their nurturing is any different to yours, that it's not going to work, or it is going to work for you. You have exactly the same possibility and opportunities to have exactly the same level of success. But what I'm trying to explain to you is that everything that they experience and everything that they say is based on their own personal experience. And that's the same for you. Everything you go through and everything you experience is based from your personal experience and your perspective. So it's not the same. It doesn't mean that it's not achievable, but you have to really see yourselves and your situation and your life as two very separate entities from somebody else, which it is, of course, we're all unique. But that means that our experiences are going to be shaped and formed differently, so that we learn certain lessons on the way and we achieve certain things. And they won't necessarily be the same as somebody else's. So this is the reason why it's very important to really trust yourself and your decision. There aren't any wrong decisions. If you think you've made a wrong decision, then what will probably happen is that you'll be led in a different direction, there'll be a lesson to learn, but that doesn't mean that you can't go back to the original plan and still proceed with the goal that you wanted to achieve. It doesn't end, it just means that you've taken a slight diversion. There are no mistakes in any decision that you make, even if the outcome is actually not a very pleasant one. That there is still always a lesson in it. And I'm not trying to be just philosophical, I'm just being very factual with you. You will always learn something with every wrong decision you think that you've made. And you will always learn something with every right decision that you've made. It will still always bring you to the path that you need to be on, but it might not be necessarily in the way that you thought it would be. So to end this video, because it's quite a long one, try to learn to trust your own decisions. So when you have an idea, don't get all of these things yet, but in your head with, yeah, but this, what about that, how am I going to do this, and what if this person thinks that? You have to leave those out of your head because they're just thoughts and fears that are creeping in to kind of scare you. 2, ask for other people's advice, that's fine, but remember that's just advice, okay? It's not the Bible, they're not holding the gospel, they're only speaking from their own experience, and you also have to be able to relate what they're saying to your personal experience. And that means sometimes you have to filter, you have to take what you need and chuck away the stuff that you don't need, because you don't need everything. And the last point is, remember, somebody else who has a lot of experience, who's given you a lot of advice, has done a very good job, and they should be commended for their achievements. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to work in exactly the same way for you. It doesn't mean that you're going to be less successful. It could mean that you can be more successful because you have a different plan of approach or different approach. But just remember that their experience is theirs and your experience is yours. So trust in your own decisions, trust, and please try to learn to listen to your intuition, to let it guide you, because it is really like a GPS. It will guide you to where you need to go. And that's it for today. So thanks for listening, and see you on the other side.